cracker. Hey, look at that. Hi there everyone, we're at the Nunnery Lakes in Norfolk. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, it's early November and the fishing's going to get slightly harder from now on in. Nice weather front went through last night, it really was nice. I was sort of tempted to, I was going to get up early and come fishing for the day today, maybe do the night tonight, but I was tempted to just leave home after all the kids had gone to bed and my missus has gone to bed. So it was very, very mild, it was lovely conditions for carp fishing. That front has sadly gone through now and it's sort of chilled off a little bit. There's even a little bit of mist in the air, just sort of damp coming over the fields on the way here. You can see that the ground and the water obviously is losing temperature. About 10 degrees last night and it's now 7 this morning, so it's definitely dropping. Free Spirit done a float fishing feature earlier in the year with Simon Bond and myself, and that went really, really well. We were sort of comparing different rods and different actions, and it was nice for me to have a little go with bits that I've not used before and make my judgment through that, really. A bit of a, you know, a trial on the bank. Similar thing today, there's a lot with Free Spirit with the long range casting and, you know, how far you can get with the big rods, and that's fantastic, and that's obviously catching some of the anglers in the team some great results. But I tend to fish, as a lot of you might know, sort of like margins to medium range. Anything, you know, I'm comfortable fishing up to sort of 70, 80 yards. I can cast further. I'm not a long range caster, but I can cast further. It's just where I feel comfortable in the sense of that I really feel like I can see what's going on, watching the fizzers, you know, sort of like picking up liners and working out where I need to put my rods. That's the style of fishing that I really like. Also in the rod ranges, I tend to like the smaller rods in the sense of, for me, carp fishing is about playing the fish in. I really like that kind of flow in a carp rod. I'm a massive fan of the E.S. in the S range. Huge and very popular rod, been around for a long time now. Big names such as Lee Jackson, Sean Harrison, you know, other members of the team have got those as short range rods. The other rod I'm going to look at is the E-Class Gold, 2 3/4, so the same test curve, slightly different price point, great rod within its own right. I'd like to see the action of that, but also we're going to look at the Hi-S 2.5. There isn't a 2 3/4 in the range, there's either a 2.5 or a 3. So I'm going to look at that in compared to the other rods. That's the rod that Simon in the office said that he would choose over the E.S. or the E-Class, just because he feels that it could do everything. It's got a very soft tip, so I'm told, and you know, a sort of stiff to middle section in the rod. So going to try and have a look at that. I'm going to try and do a little bit of a comparable test today as well. If I catch some fish, then fantastic, but what I'm going to do is line them up all on the bank, and then I'm going to try and peg them out so you can look at the different actions of the rods as they sit on the pod, really, compared to each other, sitting next to each other. So hopefully that'll work, and hopefully it'll give you some kind of illustration of, you know, the different actions in the rods, and also I'll explain a little bit about the different price points. You know, I mean, the great thing about Free Spirit rods is that they don't really change them, you know. So, you know, these blanks have been tried and tested for years by some of the top carp anglers in the land. Some of them have still got the original rods that they had 10, 12 years ago. So it's another great thing about the brand as well, and a lot of people buy into it for this reason, is that we're not into changing with the fashions that, you know, like this year's rod is different to next year's, and as a result, you know, in 5 years' time, if you do have a problem, you know, say you shut that rod in your car boot or something like that, you know, it's easy to get another tip section or get a rod made up that's the same as the ones that you've got. So, right, it's enough chat from me. I'm waffling on a little bit. Let's have a look round and see if we can find some fish and do some fishing. Right, this is the dilemma. I know that the lake fishes well in the morning, but I haven't seen anything, so it's kind of like, do you stop and watch and wait, or do you try and get some rods out in an area where you've caught from in the past? I'm sort of caught between two worlds at the minute. This swim I've caught a lot of fish out of here in the past, and on bobs and either lakes that I'm fishing, they're joined together, so it's difficult to know which side they're in. There's a big wind last night, so they might be through on the other side, but I didn't see anything in there in bobs. So, but yeah, it's hard to know what to do when you're just on a short session. Do you get your rods out and start fishing, feel for liners, that kind of thing, or do you just not fish, watch, wait, you know? So we'll see how it goes. You might be thinking, well, I've got all of this gear. What I tend to find, because I do a lot of feature work or doing these videos, I tend to bring quite a lot of stuff that I'm going to film on top of what I'm going to be fishing with. This example this time, you know, other reels, other rods. Also I'm contemplating, not definite yet, I'm contemplating on doing a night tonight and then shooting off to work in the morning, so we'll see how it goes. I'm never sort of fixed, I'm definitely doing 24 hours. Hopefully we can catch a few fish for you. You might be thinking, why also have I chose this swim? Had a good look around. It's not in the two areas where I thought they would be. There's a couple of gaps joining the lakes up here, so the fish do move through. That's an obvious interception point, but it's not the reason why I chose it. Basically, I've seen some fizzing out here. I've seen 3 or 4 groups, you know, 2 or 3 fish in one place, 2 or 3 fish in another. So, you know, they're not as far down the lake. It's still quite early. It's only the first week, really, of, I think it's the 7th of November now, so we'll give it a go. Fingers crossed.
God, I told you, is that rib there got that quarter curve on it? Was that?
Yeah.
Can I have a quick look before you cast it in?
On this rig I've got my ever faithful fluorocarbon setup. Very, very simple. It's not a rig comparative this video, just going to look at the different rod actions and stuff like that. Okay, I'm just showing you what I'm using really.
Yeah.
See? So what have we got here then? We've got the 12-foot E-class 2 3/4. Even in the bag it feels very, very light. I was speaking to Dave at work yesterday, Dave Harrison, picking up the rods for this feature, and he was saying that it's got a very, very slight taper in it, this rod. In other words, you know, most rods go from quite a thick butt section right the way down to quite a thin tip, whereas it's got such a thin butt on it, the actual taper running through the rod is just very, very gradual. I had a quick check at it at work actually, and it's very, very nice. So first look at it there, 12-foot 2 3/4 E-class gold. Got the clone seat on them now, changed the real seats to the modern version of it. As you can see, very, very slim. And one of the reasons for doing this kind of feature really is to explain that I suppose we all get carried away with big is better, and you know, the more distance that we can cast, the more fish we're going to catch, and in some situations that might be true, but most of the fishing in the UK, as far as I can see, they're on generally sort of, you know, small to medium lakes. And this kind of rod, you can stick a 2.5, 3 ounce lead on it and give it a fair old whack with the right line set up, and that you can get quite a good distance with it. And they're obviously fantastic and beautiful for playing fish on, you know, and that's what I'm really into. So, right, this one is the Hi-S 2.5. Like I say, they don't do a 2 3/4 in the Hi-S range as either a 2.5 or a 3. I picked the 2.5. Simon from Free Spirit reckons this is the rod he would choose for this kind of short range fishing. Top quality. You can feel it straight away that it is. But, and this is the big but, loads of people argue against me with this one. I tend to find a lot of the Hi-S range, I'm not saying with this one because I've not used it, but quite tippy, and a lot of people really prefer that. They prefer that kind of action where it's got a soft tip. You can get a lot of whippiness in the cast, and it accelerates the cast very, very fast, but then you've got the power in the butt for playing a fish. What you tend to notice with a lot of Free Spirit rods as well is that they've got that backbone, but they'll keep going. So under pressure, even with the long range stuff, you see people really hoop into something, it just keeps going and keeps pulling over. Whereas other rods, they tend to have quite a flat spot. They'll only get to a point and then it becomes a bit of a broom handle in the butt. So we'll definitely have a look at this one. I'm very interested in this one. And here we have the ever popular E.S. It's been around for a long time now, 10 years or so. Very, very popular amongst all of the free spirit guys. A lot of people on the internet rave about these rods as being the ultimate player's rod. Use them a lot myself, have done extensively in the past, still do now. Still the same set of rods that I've always used since I've been with free spirit, but it'll be interesting to see how they compare against the others. You know, I've not got to have the best in some people's eyes, or the most expensive, just because I work at the company, and the high S is definitely that. But I just really am interested in comparing the action of it. It's personal preference, all of this stuff, and it's part of the reason for having such an extensive range is that, you know, there's different price points for different people, different ages, but also different actions. You know, don't lose sight of that a lot of the ranges are set up for different actions as well as price points. So think about that when you're looking at free spirit. Okay, let's get this one set up as well and have a look at 3 of them together. I'm trying to make this as scientific as possible, but obviously it's not. There's going to be variables in it. I'm sort of gradually setting something up over there, so you have a look in a second. Basically, I've taken the 3 rods, so we've got the highest 2.5, the E-class 2 3/4, and the E.S from the S range, and I've put them all on the same setup, same buzz bar system. And then what I've tried to do is measure the line exactly straight down off the tip, peg it into the ground, and then try to get similar kind of tension on the reel so that the rods have got a similar action, trying to make it as scientific as possible so you can look at the different actions of them. We have a little mooch around the rods now and have a little look, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So here's the 3 rods then. Highest 2.5, E-class 2 3/4, E.S, which is a 2 3/4 in the S range. I've got them up on this buzz bar. Try to do them exactly the same, pegging them straight down. Now, from work and talking to the people at work, they will argue that the high S has got a slightly softer tip. Now, I don't know whether you can see that in there, but it definitely seems like it's pulling over a bit more towards the tip. And a lot of people prefer that sort of tip action kind of rod that is very soft in that area, and they feel their fish while they're playing them, and they enjoy the casting action of that a lot more. The E-class, I'm actually quite surprised, is actually very close to the high S. You know, it's for the comparable price, you know, it's under half price of the high S. Another rod that's the one in the middle, it's got a very, very nice action on it there, very, very similar to the high S. Kind of in between really, and then you've got the more progressive action of the E.S on the far side. Now I've moved around to this side, so we've got the E.S from the S range on this side, then the E-class, E-class gold, and then the high S. And you can see that tip on that high S coming right over there, and then very, very similar action coming back to the E-class. But as you can see, there's a lot more progressive with the S range one. Price points in these ones are high S, which is the most expensive in the range, £330 around that. Then the next one in the middle is the E-class gold 2 3/4, and that's around the 160 mark. And then the S range is at 260, around that kind of mark anyway. So as I mentioned before, the E.S, which is actually the rod I've got here closest to you, I've had these now for the last 8 years, so they're my little babies. Caught plenty of big fish on them. Caught plenty of small ones as well, and that's the great thing about them is, you know, if I need to, I can stick quite a big lead on. I don't go mad to buckle the rod, but, you know, if I need to lump it out there, I can. But if I'm stuck for a floater fishing rod, then I can use this also. A couple of things to remember really with the free spirit range. The high S and S range are hand built in the UK, so there's no problem with getting custom builds. You can have full cork on them, full jubel on, however you like your short range rods, short to medium range rods. We do get blanks into the E-class as well, so custom build is available in them also for a small extra charge. I just had a bleep then. I've still got a couple of rods out whilst I'm playing about with this. Fingers crossed we'll get one. What I've done is I've actually got the all of my ESs, or I've brought one of them in now to show this little demonstration. I've got a couple of ESs set up down there with the rods out, and what I'm going to do is gradually filter these rods into the swim. Now I've got them all set up. Obviously I'm not going to fish with 5 out there, but I'll bring the other 2 in, get this this ES out there, and then get the other 2 rods out there and see if we can get a fish on them as well. You know, that's the ultimate truth, you know, when you're actually feeling a rod. Something about free spirit rods that I was explained on the very first day when I went to the offices there. Simon said to me, go and have a look at what ones you like, and you know, pick a set that you think you're going to use. And I picked the ES, and he said, you know, great choice and all of that kind of thing, very popular rod. But he was explaining about the resin to carbon ratio, that free spirit rods are very low resin, and as a result, because there's not much resin in the blanks, there's 2 things with it really, that they transmit a lot of energy. So when you're playing fishing and stuff like that, then you can really feel all the bumps of the head shaking and all of that, and really ride that, because you know it's transmitting the messages up the rod. But also that they don't soften over time. And I did contemplate bringing a brand new ES, but there's nothing in my mind that I've ever thought that my rods have softened in any way. So some of you watching this might be thinking, what's he doing? Why is he doing this? I just really wanted to try to explain that there are different rods, different price points in the free spirit range, but also that there are different actions. That the highest is very tippy. Some people prefer that, some people prefer, you know, it's very light. You know, it's obviously a hand-built, very high-end, high-grade rod. There's no disputing that. And coming down from that, you've got the ES and the S range. It's a fantastic rod that has caught me loads and loads of fish. I've got utmost faith in, with a durable finish on it as well. You can knock them about a bit, and they do take a bit of abuse. And as you can imagine, I fish regularly. I'm out on the bank quite often, and I've never had any problems. Speak to some of the other guys as well, even someone like Hutch, which is just absolutely thrashing rods to the bone all of the time, and to turn around and say since he's been here that he's never broken a rod, then that's pretty phenomenal really. For me to say it is obviously not quite an excuse, but you know, even the equipment still takes a lot of knocking about, going in and out the van, and you know, sometimes when I'm in France I might be transporting them in boats and all kinds of stuff, so they do get a bit of abuse. The other thing to think about is the E-Class. Now I really do believe, looking at it, great cosmetics on it, really is a beautiful rod. If someone turned around and said to me, look, I don't want you using the other stuff, you're going to have to use E-Class from now on, you know, I wouldn't be too disheartened. I'd lost my ever faithful ES rods, but you know, I'd be quite happy to use them, and be great to get a fish on them today to see what they actually really perform like. You can see from the little comparables that I've done, you know, there's not a huge difference in them because they're all similar actions and they're all similar test curve rods, but you know, you've got a more progressive action in the ES. You've got you know, slightly in between with the E-Class Gold 2 3/4, and then the 2.5 high S, you know, is a popular rod, and something that a lot of people will enjoy using. Just thought I'd give you a little update. No fish, getting a few liners still, that's why I haven't moved as yet. There are a few similarities in the rods that I wanted to talk about. One is that they're all very slim. The ES is slightly thicker than the other 2, but they're definitely all very, very slim rods. The eyes on all the rods are exactly the same, so the space on the eyes is exactly the same. A difference that I could see quite clearly was that the ES, the S range one, and the high S come with isotopes already in them, but the E-Class one doesn't, so you'd have to buy an isotope to go into there. And if I'm completely honest, and I want to be honest here, the E-Class one is ever so slightly more tip heavy than the other 2. I don't know if it's just to do with the weight of the carbon, or, I mean, it's not a tip heavy rod, I'm just comparing the 3 rods there. I still, at the moment, I still think I prefer the ES through casting it and the whole feel. That's a rod I've used a long time, so that's going to be pretty obvious, you know, they fit me and that feels like that. Having said that, you can tell the build quality and the quality of the carbon of the high S. It is definitely a very, very high class rod, and it did cast really, really nice. What I wanted here really was to catch a fish on it and see what it was like playing a fish on, but I'll keep plugging along. If we don't catch one, it's not the end of the world. I'll keep trying, but if we don't, then I still think there's a comparable in them on how they feel. All 3 really nice rods. I'll be happy to use any of them. I'm still leaning towards the ES. Right, I'm going to move I've given it enough time here. I'm going to do the night tonight. I put a marker out further down the bank, and basically the marker got wiped out pretty quickly by fish obviously swimming through it, but also there's a few fizzes and that down there. Also, what I'd like to say is I can reach the spots that I'm fishing here from that swim, but I can't reach them spots from here, so I'm going to move in there now before I set up my bivvy, get in there before dark, and hopefully catch one for you. Can you believe that? I was just packing up the barra and off it's gone. This one's on the E-class gold. Lovely rod, very nice. This fish is really starting to scrap up its margin now. You can see the nice action that you've got in a rod like this. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, just pinged off a peck or something like that. You don't feel too bad a fish. I'm not saying it's a monster, but it doesn't feel too bad at all. I've got to say this to you now, yeah, I'm starting to worry a little bit about power. I'm running low on power, so I'm going to have to cut the fight a little bit. Pretty noisy out here, helicopters and geese, they don't mix. Still playing it, don't feel too bad. I've got to cut the power off again, I'm sorry. It's holding down quite deep. Bring this rod over. It's not feeling too bad with the old E-class gold. I'm quite pleased with them. This fish really doesn't want to come up. The geese are going crazy. Not even seen a tail pattern yet. Could probably pop up and be a tiny little one. Certainly pulling. Starting to see a few tail patterns now. It's definitely coming up from the deep. Sometimes you see them like blowing out their gills and that. Obviously I'm fishing in nearly 20 foot of water, so there's a lot of depth change for the fish. I know I keep cutting this video off, but I've had this on now for a good 10 minutes. But it's absolutely lovely with this short range setup, really. Short to medium range. So watch what I'm doing. Great thing about rods like this is that you can hoop into them a little bit. You're not going mad, I don't want to pull the hook out, but you can, you know, feel the fish, feel the fight. So we start getting it up now. Looks like a cracking common. It's in the net on the old E-class. You beauty. Mwah. I tell you, that's a really nice fish. Really nice fish. Well chuffed with that. You look at this for a beauty of a common. Absolute cracker. Hey, look at that. 24 pound. Lovely fight. Off an E-class 2 3/4. First time I've ever used the rods. Enjoyable, nice, very nice. Not sure I'd swap for my E.S.'s, but absolutely cracking fish. Really chuffed about it. I thought I was going to catch a few sort of mid doubles or stuff like that today to show you the actions and that. But as you can imagine, I'm not too displeased with this. Beautiful fish. Great fight of it. Sorry I've not got much power, so I'm going to have to cut you off. I really do apologise about that. But let's get it out, see if we can get another one. That's what I'm saving the power for, see if we can show the high S next. Brilliant stuff. Lovely long common. Give a great account of itself, real deep fight. And on the E-class gold 2 3/4. Lovely action. Really enjoyable fight. Cracking fish. I'm really chuffed with that. There's another fish on the middle rod. And trying to set the camera up. Don't know what happened there, very strange. It was almost like it was like a liner. I don't know if it was a fish towing, because there's a bow wave, which is very unusual in 20 foot of water, but very strange. Okay, I'm going to quickly summarise because I'm going to run out of power. This camera's going to go off in a second. I'm really sorry about that, because I really wanted to show you guys the actions of the different rods. I'm going to do the night tonight and I'm off to work in the morning. Real quickly, what did I think about the rods? All very similar, different price points, definite difference in quality. You can see, you go up to the high S, it's a beautiful rod, there's no doubt about it. It really is nice. The E.S, I've said it time and time again, it's a fantastic fishing rod, love it to pieces. Really don't need to say any more about that. A lot of people will back me up on that as well. And the E-class is a very good rod for the money. You know, if I was not starting out, but you know, I wanted a decent set of rods that were gonna, you know, last me a good few years, then the E-class gold is certainly one to go for. It's you know, a great way to enter into the Free Spirit brand. It's a fantastic rod, love using it today. Caught that cracking fish on it. Wanted to show you a few doubles and stuff like that with the rod bent into action, but I'm not going to complain at a lovely 24 pound common at this time of the year in the UK. So thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch up with you soon.